than 2 weeks until the NFL draft when we find out where all those quarterbacks, including Shedeur Sanders, will land. Yesterday, the Colorado QB visited the Steelers. Here's what he had to say about how it went.
I enjoyed my time in Pittsburgh. I think I connected well with all the coaches and the values that the team has. And what he preaches from his staff down is similar to like my dad.
Is it even fair? Should you be allowed to go to a 10-win team like the Steelers?
That's on the people. That's on the other franchises that make that mistake and let me go there.
Steelers need the help. They had steady quarterback play for 18 years before Ben Roethlisberger retired, but since then, nothing has stuck. In the last 3 seasons, Pittsburgh quarterbacks have thrown the fewest passing touchdowns, and they rank bottom 10 in passing yards per game and completion percentage. Steelers tight end Pat Freiermuth was asked about Pittsburgh's current quarterback situation. This is what he said.
I'd like to think that, whoever we get, or, if it's Mason, I'm comfortable with whoever, man. And, I think it's more so based off what that quarterback was good in the past.
Right.
And blending it with, Art's scheme. Whoever we get, if it's Aaron, whoever it is, even Mason, Mason has his things.
Right.
Aaron has his things. It's going to be cool to learn from all these guys.
Welcome to NFL Live on this Friday. I'm Dan Graziano, joined by Damian Woody, Mina Kimes, and Mike Tannenbaum to talk about the upcoming draft and what's going to happen with Shedeur Sanders, who was in Pittsburgh yesterday visiting the Steelers. Mina, you heard what Pat Freiermuth said about the offense. What do you think about the fit of Shedeur in Pittsburgh?
I think it's a great fit. It'd be a terrific landing spot for him. Obviously, a very good group of pass catchers, especially after training for DK Metcalf. I think he's a good fit for what Arthur Smith wants to do on offense. Put the quarterback under center a fair amount, play action, throwing over the middle of the field, which is a strength of Sanders. The one missing piece, I think, to all of this, and that's important both for Smith's offense and also for a young quarterback like Shedeur, is having a strong run game. Last year, the Steelers' rushing attack was 25th league-wide in EPA per dropback, so that also has to be a priority. By the way, regardless of who's under center, they need to add a back. I think also could look to improve at offensive tackle in the draft. But all of that said, I don't think it would be a mistake to spend their first-round draft pick on Shedeur Sanders.
Mina, I agree. I think it's a great scheme fit. And the other thing that Pittsburgh offers for a young quarterback is 3 huge receivers. When you think about George Pickens, DK Metcalf, and Pat Freiermuth, those are massive catch radiuses. And for any young quarterback, that's an added bonus. We see Russell Wilson here fitting the ball into tight spaces, but this offense can look so different with DK Metcalf that we're looking at here. So be it Shedeur Sanders or any other young quarterback, I think Pittsburgh's done a great job of setting up a big infrastructure in terms of 3 big pass catchers. Now, of course, as you mentioned, they got to layer it with another running back, hopefully another offensive lineman. But boy, this would be an ideal situation for Shedeur.
Yeah, and listen, you guys have talked about the fit from personnel and schematics with the Pittsburgh Steelers, and I agree. I also want to jump into the fact that I think it's a great fit from the fact that you're talking about the Pittsburgh Steelers organization. A lot of these guys, especially quarterbacks that's getting drafted high, going into questionable situations from an organizational standpoint. And I think the Pittsburgh Steelers offer an infrastructure that will be good for a young quarterback like Shedeur Sanders. When you got Mike Tomlin, a Hall of Fame head coach, who will be able to offer that stability within the organization for a young quarterback, the possibility of Aaron Rodgers coming aboard may take pressure off Shedeur Sanders possibly coming in and having to play early. I think that would be beneficial for a young quarterback like Shedeur Sanders.
Mike T., you mentioned the DK Metcalf acquisition. That cost them their second-round pick, and that could affect their ability to move around in the draft if they need to go up and get somebody like Shedeur Sanders or another quarterback. You still like the fact that they were aggressive in the free agency period, even though they weren't set at the quarterback position?
I do. I think to have sustained success in the NFL, you have to honestly and soberly look at your team and say, what do we have to do to get better? And they didn't sit there and say, hey, we have Pickens and Freiermuth and Ruben Wilson was a 3rd-round pick. He'll get better. No, they were aggressive. They went out and got a difference maker, a big, strong, downfield, what should be a point scorer. Now, look, I don't think they're also sitting here thinking we're going to have Mason Rudolph as our open day quarterback. So right now it would be a grade of incomplete, Dan. But I give them credit because they went out and got a true difference maker, something they desperately needed.
Absolutely. Now they just got to figure out who is going to be throwing him the ball. Staying in the AFC North, there was some news made in Cleveland today. The Browns have signed veteran quarterback Joe Flacco to a one-year, $4 million deal. A couple of years ago, Flacco played for the Browns, won Comeback Player of the Year, and led the team to the playoffs. Browns are excited about Flacco coming back. They tweeted out this picture earlier today. Do we have it? We have the picture the Browns tweeted out earlier today. It was Flacco on an airplane. But anyway, Browns are excited about Flacco coming back. You got to take my word for it. There it is. All right, live looking at the airport. Was not live. This picture is actually from 2023, but you can understand why the Browns would like it because that was a good year for them and for Flacco. Mike T. Flacco's 40, didn't play that great last year in Indianapolis. Do you think the Browns are done adding to the quarterback room with this move?
Absolutely not. Look, there's been a lot of rumors, and when we start matching things up, Kirk Cousins seems to be the obvious fit here, given his success with Kevin Stefanski in Minnesota. And look, they could certainly draft somebody. It seems very unlikely they're going to draft somebody at 2, but certainly they could come back up. So I think this is a great insurance policy, a lot more work to be done, and who knows what their depth chart will look like, by the time we get to Labor Day.
Yeah, I agree with Mike. The Kirk Cousins trade, it seems like could drag out for a while with Atlanta, so I certainly don't begrudge them adding some other quarterbacks to their room. In the meantime, insurance, shall we call it. And as far as the draft goes, as it does seem increasingly likely they're going to go for either Travis Hunter or Abdul Carter with pick 2, I would really be intrigued if they were to add a quarterback like Tyler Shuck out of Louisville later in the draft. Because to me, he is one of the more pro-ready players. And I think for Cleveland, you do want a quarterback who's not a developmental prospect, someone who can come in, play immediately. Imagine him throwing to Travis Hunter and Jerry Jeudy at receiver if Hunter was to play receiver for them. So I would look at both the draft and a potential Cousins trade, as Mike alluded to.
Yeah, you mentioned Cleveland picking high. They have the number 2 pick. So this move does, make you think about what could go on at the top of the draft. Interesting tweet from our Adam Schefter. Said QB intrigue in the last month. The Browns, who hold the number 2 pick, have added Kenny Pickett and Joe Flacco, while the Giants, picking at number 3, have brought in Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston. D. Wood, when you look at those moves that those teams picking 2nd and 3rd have made, what does it tell you about the top of the draft and those teams' plans?
You have the inclination that maybe those teams feel like there's not an impact quarterback that's worthy of being picked at, whether it's 2 or 3. And if you look at the New York Giants, for instance, you saw at the end of the year last year, owner John Murray was talking about the sense of urgency for this organization, that they are in quote unquote win now mode. I don't know if you draft Shedeur Sanders, you're actually, you put them in the best position to be successful or help this team win now. And so whether you're looking at the Giants with Russell Wilson and Jameis Winston and what we've seen from the Cleveland Browns, I think they want impact players that can affect them right now and maybe get their quarterback a little bit later in the draft.
Yeah, the Browns haven't had a draft pick in the top 25 since 2020, which sounds weird until you remember they traded them all for a quarterback that didn't work out. We are just getting started on...
Hôm nay mình sẽ hướng dẫn các bạn cách làm một sợi thun cổ tóc đơn giản từ len nha.